Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode of my podcast. Now, what was I talking about? My name is V Noir, and this week I am talking about the new Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein movie that I think is by the time of this episode airing, it should have hit Netflix. So this is coming out the Friday that this hits Netflix. I don't know if it'll still be in theaters by then, too, though. Definitely catch it in theaters if you can, because that was a really nice theater going experience. Although I didn't realize that this film was over 2 hours long. I went into the theater. It was a matinee at like 3:45 p.m. and came out at like 6:15 or something. And after daylight savings, which I hate, um went into the theater. It's bright and shiny. I leave and it's nighttime, and I'm like, I felt like that Mr. Krabs meme. I was just so confused and disoriented, and I was like, I still wanted to do really quick grocery shopping and stuff, and now I feel off. It feels like it's 8 p.m. right now. Like, fuck this. I don't like this. Also, another thing with my movie going experience is that because it was matinee and it was also a Monday, I sat behind I sat in a good spot, but I was behind like these five or six old people. And during the movie, at some point, one of them started to like kind of fiddle with a wrapper and try to open something. And I couldn't help but think of this Smosh Mouth episode where it was a try not to laugh between Damien, Shane, and Angela. And Damien, here there's like a rapper sound, and Damon's just like, "Hey, is there like a old person that's been trying to unwrap this candy for the last 10 minutes at the movie theater?" Because that was happening to me. I was like trying not to burst out laughing, but then this kind of reminded me of like what I think of as like theater going etiquette, because like people hate the trailers in the beginning because like they're long and everything. But for me, I'm like, I mean, I love watching the trailers because I'm like, oh, now I could know what's coming up, because I use YouTube Premium, and I only use YouTube Premium because I have a Roku, and so I use it on that. Otherwise, if I didn't have a Roku, I would just use like ad blocker if I only watch YouTube on my laptop. But like YouTube has movies on there and stuff, so there's like a bunch of different reasons that I use it through Roku. But either way, so I don't really see movie trailers like that. Um except as like an ad on Instagram, or through a movie going experience. And so for me, yeah, I'm like, I like seeing trailers, but not only that, I think of trailers just like I think of ads. It's like this is a way for you to get situated, get all your snacks ready to go. This is a time to open up everything, either that you bought at the concessions or that you snuck in, because like if you're in San Francisco, there's the Metreon on 4th and Mission, and below it is a food court. And when I worked there, sure, there was a rule of like all theaters essentially have a rule of not bringing outside food in, because you got to support the theater, because that's the thing that's keeping the place open. It's not really the movie itself. Like I think like theaters get some of that, but not really. It's really concessions, which is why concessions are so expensive. But that location specifically, we were okay with people bringing outside food in because there's literally a food court here. Like, why would we look at you when the box office used to be open? Look at you buy boba tea right across from us and then be like, oh, you can't bring this boba tea up. Like, that's just dumb, So, like, literally going to the super duper and like getting a burger and like fries and everything and like bringing that up. It's like take that shit out of the bag during the trailers. Don't be doing all of that when the movie is like up and going and like, you're it's quiet as shit in here. Like, come on. Do that during the trailers. Silence your phone during the trailers. I mean, you literally get an advent about turning your phones on silent before the movie starts. So that's what I think of trailers, and I've come around to accepting ads as well, through Tubi, because with ads, I realized like, oh, ads are literally a way for you to take a break from your viewing experience, and it's like, duh. But I feel like growing up, ads felt so like it felt like there was too many ads, and also it would happen while the show was like really getting into something. So it was just like in the middle of an action, and it's like I was literally like something's literally going on, and now there's an ad. Like I fucking hate you. Um, but yeah, and I'm like, now with Tubi, I'm like, okay, actually, I needed an ad right there because that was very traumatic and I need to process. And also, I've been sitting in this crazy position this whole time. I need to actually get up and actually, I need to take a piss or I need to go grab a snack or something. I'm like, oh, actually, ads are ads are pretty good as like a quick little break in between because I'll be so engrossed in something that I'll forget to do anything. So I think of it now, I think of ads as a really good way to, stop myself from doing the viewing experience. At least they're put in a way, in a place that makes sense. It's just like, it's not in the middle of the action. I'm not about to be like, why is this happening? It's giving me a way to, like come out of the thing, get a snack, go to the bathroom, all this stuff, get up quickly, and get back to it. But yeah, so this week I'm talking about Frankenstein. I got to see it on Monday because I don't like I love Guillermo del Toro. I hate that this is like Netflix exclusive, but I am glad that he was able to get such a long theater run for this. Like it sucks that something like The Glass Onion or what was the other the name of the other movie? Or Knives Out, which I'm realizing wasn't originally a Netflix movie, but his follow up to that, Ryan Johnson's follow up to that, The Glass Onion was a Netflix movie. And I remember that only getting like a week release before it was on Netflix. And that really fucking sucked. Especially now with more streaming platforms becoming getting into distributing. There we go. I'm like, why am I saying this word weird? Getting into distributing their own like movies and stuff and bidding on movies. Like Mubi is a really good example of this. Like they did the Substance recently. That was a good one. That had a very long like theatrical release before it was even on the streaming platform or anything with like A24. They have an exclusivity like contract with HBO Max. So whenever their theater run is over, I think even after the theater run is over, you still have like months until it actually gets on the streaming platform, which is really nice. And then Shutter is another like one that I know of where like Good Boy was something they were distributing, and I don't think it's on the platform just yet, but something like Clown and the Cornfield was something recently they distributed and only recently just got on their streaming platform, which I realize I should watch that because I want to get into like clown horror movies, I guess. I'm like, I see Terrifier all the time. Haven't watched any of those. I mean, I just don't, like, I don't care, I guess. I don't find clowns scary. And it's it's an interesting genre because I'm like, it's clown as monster and killer rather than like a person dressed up as a clown. Like the clown is its own creature, which is interesting, I guess. But I'm like, they aren't, they're not scary to me. I mean, that was some creepy shit a few years back, maybe a decade back, when all those clowns were just like in places and nobody had any explanation for that. But also that kind of reminds me of like flash mobs. Like, why were we really obsessed with doing flash mobs in like 2010, 2012, or whatever? I'm like, what happened to flash mobs? I'm like, what happened to the whimsy in our country, I guess? And I'm like, yeah, no, never mind. Our, yeah, everything has gone to shit. I'm like, we don't even whimsy anymore, bro. Like, what happened to the flash mobs? But anyway, I mean, I already came up with the title of this episode before even recording it because usually I record an epi and then after I'm done, I come up with a title. But I was like digesting Frankenstein as a movie and everything like that. And I was like, it feels like it's missing something. And the first movie that popped up for me was Nosferatu, the 2024 Robert Eggers version. And I was like, okay, so why is that coming up for me? And I was thinking about how Ellen, played by Lily Rose Depp, which did so phenomenally. She did a phenomenal job with like the body contortion and everything like that. Like she was acting. Same with Jacob Elordi in Frankenstein as the creature. He was acting amazing, and I'm like, I need to see him play more. I need to see him do more character roles and play like creatures and things like that, similar to how Doug Jones does, like literally only really plays creatures. Like he was the creature in Shape of Water, he was the Pan's Labyrinth creature. Like he is just like a tall, skinny guy that has just these crazy uh proportions. And so like people hire him to play these like entities essentially, and I think that's really funny. But but yeah, so thinking about Ellen's relationship with Nosferatu, and that sort of back and forth, which I'll get more into that because Nosferatu is not like Frankenstein is not Nosferatu, and it's not giving the same kind of relationship. But I think I did want more of a back and forth with the creature in Frankenstein and Elizabeth. Because sure, yeah, she fell for him or whatever, but it's like we only really get this really tiny, tiny interaction between them. And then later on, the creature is looking for he's looking for Frankenstein and is just like, I want a companion, and runs into her, and she's just like, I love you or whatever. And I'm like, I needed more of a back and forth. But let me rewind. Let me not get too far into that. And first go over like at least the synopsis of we'll start with Frankenstein first. So going off of IMDb, like always, Frankenstein is about a brilliant but egotistical scientist who brings a creature to life in a monstrous experiment that ultimately leads to the undoing of both the creature and his tragic creation. Now, the undoing of the creation, I wouldn't really say is a thing. I mean, we could say that when he becomes more intelligent and realizes the truth behind his existence, that causes somewhat of an undoing of him, but he kind of accepts it after a while and is just like, this is who I am. And I can't really die. But I'm like, I keep going. I do like to kind of go in order, but essentially, this starts off with a prelude, and we see this boat that's stuck in ice, and all these people, they're speaking French and everything like that. I think they were speaking French. Uh, they were speaking a language that was foreign to me. Um, I'm like, I don't want to just assume it was like I remember it being French. But it would just be funny if I was like, they were speaking a foreign language. It was French, and it was actually like Russian or German or something else. And it's like, no, those don't sound the same at all. But anyway, they were speaking a language. Okay, so they were speaking Danish, apparently. I'm like, damn, okay, well, I, I don't know. They were speaking Danish. According to Wikipedia, they were speaking Danish. Either way, they're stuck in this ice. The captain's like, hey, we gotta get out of this ice, man. Uh, and we gotta get this mission done. And all of a sudden, later on in the night, they hear an explosion. Something's gone. Something's happened. The captain goes with a team of people to investigate. They find all of these huskies and a man whose leg looks like kind of fucked up in the ice. And I'm like, was the creature there at that point? I think the creature was there, uh, a little fucked up, but not crazy. And actually, no, he wasn't there just yet. They get the man out of the ice, or like they get him and they take him back to the ship. They're trying to treat him and everything like that. And all of a sudden, the creature does show up and they start shooting at him and he's yelling at them to bring him Frankenstein. So of course we're like, okay, so this is I mean, I knew it was Frankenstein because of the one teeny tiny clip. Because I was like, I saw Guillermo del Toro, Frankenstein, and that's all I needed to know. I didn't need to watch a trailer for this. I was just like, I'm gonna go see that. I trust Guillermo del Toro. Like, I don't need any convincing. Like, you put his name on something, I'm probably gonna go watch it. Not everything, but if it interests me, because I'm like, well, he did Hellboy, but I didn't know who he was when that happened. And I'm like, have I told this story before? I remember there were two different Hellboy movies. I don't remember which Hellboy movie it was, but he did one of them and not both of them. Either way, I wasn't interested in Hellboy in any way. My older brother was at the time, and I didn't want to go see that with my family. So I looked at the newspaper when you would look at newspapers and see what was showing at the local cinema. And I just saw as a movie. Mind you, I'm like 11 years old. My younger brother there is 7. And my older brother is 14 at the time. So we're out as a family. I knew about the MPAA ratings of stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, so Saw is playing at this time. I want to go see Saw. I look at the up at the marquee. I see Saw. I also see that it's not rated at all. So I'm like, okay, that must be safe for kids, right? That must be safe for children, right? And then my younger brother was like, yeah, I want to go see Saw too. He didn't know what that was. I didn't know what that was. I didn't read the description. I might have read the description and thought it was sounded interesting, but I still was just like, my younger brother was very like, he would kind of follow what I would do a bit. So he just was like, whatever you want to do, I want to do. So then we just ended up seeing Saw and instead of Hellboy because I didn't want to see Hellboy and it was 2 against 1. So that's like the only Guillermo del Toro movie I potentially didn't watch because I didn't want to see Hellboy. I still haven't seen Hellboy, actually. I might revisit it now, but either way. So Frankenstein is in the ship. The creature, he's only referred to as the creature here. He's not referred to as Frankenstein's monster. He's only ever called the creature in this movie. I almost thought at some point he would be given a name by a character, but that didn't happen, and I was a little sad. A little sad. But so he yells in this like sort of monstery sounding voice to be given uh Victor, because he doesn't call him Frankenstein either. He calls him Victor, which is his first name. And or I think he yells Victor. Either way, he yells for him to be given the man that they just put on his ship. Now, me thinking they don't understand English, I'm just like, okay, there's a language barrier here, they just don't know. But later on, the captain talks to Victor in English, so I was just like, wait, so you can understand him this whole time? And y'all shot at him, and he didn't go down? And y'all are gonna keep the man that he's asking for on your ship? I'm like, y'all better than me. I would have given him up. Because what do you mean you only wanted this man? And otherwise, all of my men wouldn't have gotten hurt or whatever. Like, I'm, yeah, like whatever you want, you got it. Because I don't know what's what's going on with you, but you can't die apparently. I was like, y'all are better than me, I guess. Because that was my first thought. I would just be giving him over. So I'm like, I don't know what you are, but if this is all you want and that means you're gonna leave, here you go. But so he ends up killing like a few of his men, and one of the guys has an idea to shoot around the ice that the creature is standing on, and they do that, and he sinks below the water. And while that's happening, Victor decides to tell his story. And we are taken on a tale of essentially abuse, PTSD, and mourning and whatnot, because we get the story of his adolescence. And I was just like, oh wow. So it all, like, he literally starts it with, like, so yeah, so it all started basically when I was born as a child. And I was just like, oh God, here we go. Oscar Isaac is doing a phenomenal job because I hated this man through most of this, because I'm like, at first I like, sympathize with him because he had his dad who just didn't give a fuck about him, only really cared about his younger sibling once the younger brother was born, because I guess because um Victor didn't look like his dad. He didn't have the blonde and blue eyes. He looked more like his mom. So I'm like, some weird uh like didn't inherit his genes, so I think less of you or whatever type shit. His dad was a surgeon too, and this is how Victor gets his knowledge on like all of that, like science and everything. And so the his mom goes into labor, and he's so very, oh, this is why I was thinking French, because Victor was speaking French, and I just couldn't remember what other language was spoken in this movie. I just was remembering French, but not who specifically. I was just like, all of them spoke French, and I'm like, no, I don't understand Danish, but I understand when it is being spoken, and I'm like, there's no way I confuse Danish and French. I just forgot that Danish was spoken at some point in this movie, because it's only really spoken briefly in the very beginning, and then they continue to speak in English. Um, Same with the French. Like the French, I think I remembered the French because it felt so much like his way of connecting and being close to his mom, and that's why I really remembered it. And so because his dad is so absent from his life, he has a much closer relationship to his mom. But then when his mom goes into labor, the dad decides to. The dad is the one overseeing the birth, and doesn't save the mom, quote unquote. So, Victor, of course, is just like, so you failed, basically. And the dad doesn't want to admit that to this. Also, the way she was buried was kind of gorgeous, because it was just like not a sarcophagus, but just like this coffin that was basically her body, and Victor put her face over her face. Like the costuming and everything in this movie was really gorgeous. And I'm like, yeah, of course it was, because Guillermo del Toro was behind this shit. I mean, look at Crimson Peak. That movie was gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And I feel like it doesn't get talked about as much as other stuff he's done. But I digress. So his brother is born, and the dad, completely different personality with the younger brother. He like buys him stuff all the time. He's like actually smiling and happy. So it's very much just like a he looks like me, so I'm gonna treat him better. And then Victor is kind of treated like an outcast and not given the same things. I think he's still getting like smacked or like beat with like a cane and everything like that when he does something wrong, and the younger brother doesn't get the same treatment at all. And so the dad also dies, so he loses both parents. And he also gets these visions from like the angel of death, and becomes sort of obsessed with death and trying to conquer it, essentially. And when the dad dies, the estate kind of has to get sold, because all of the dad's wealth was actually from the his wife, the mom. Like it was actually her money and everything like that, like her plantations and all this stuff. And yeah, no, he just didn't take care of that shit at all. And like, ugh, this all fucking sucks, bro. But so when the dad dies, the two siblings are sent to different family members and more or less aren't in each other's lives. It jumps to sort of 20 years later or so, and Vincent is doing a presentation. I feel like whenever I see period pieces that are set in this kind of time period, it's like this is kind of how science labs are done and things like that. Like you would see like a cadaver, and it'll be in this room that's kind of like an auditorium space, and someone's doing a presentation, and he's kind of showing off how to reanimate a corpse. And the judges of course are just like, we don't want your circus tricks, like this is nothing. And he's like, it's not a circus trick, and throws an apple at this like half man essentially. And the arm catches it, and that, feels very like he was able to have motor skills without being controlled and everything like that. And there's a man in the audience who, is impacted by this. Like, they highlight him so it's like, okay, he's going to be important. It turns out that he is the uncle of, uh, I'm like, wait. Turns out that he is an uncle, and his niece is getting married, and his niece is getting married to Victor's younger brother. And it's like, oh, whoa, that's crazy. And so he kind of invites himself over to Victor's house and tries to give him an invitation and tells him to come over to his house because he is very interested in the research that Victor is doing. And he kind of saw through his presentation because he had pulled out one of the rods that was causing a current to go through the body in order to like end his presentation, when the guy was just like, actually no, you did that because he was about to lose juice anyway. Like, so you can't fool me. I know what's going on. I'm like, before I get too in the woods about that, so his name is Harlander, because I was like, I can't just be saying the man, the woman, all this stuff. So the uncle's name is Hollander. Her name, played by Mia Goth, is Elizabeth. It says slash Claire on IMDb. I don't know why. The younger brother's name is William. So I'm gonna try to use their names. their names in the movie while I'm talking about them, essentially. So we kind of jump to Hollander's house. He is into photography, which when this happened, I was like, wait, was photography a thing at this point? And I was like, yeah, I mean, kinda, yeah, sort of. I was like, wait, what what date are what dates are they using here? Let me check. And I'm like, now that I'm thinking about it, let me actually check. Honestly, I'll give him that. The time period does make sense. It's just that um when Hollander initially showed his photographs, they were in this thing that looked like daguerreotypes, and I'm like, well, daguerreo, I mean, yes, yeah, sure. And then later on, we see him making these photographs on glass, which kind of reminded me of like doing more of a tintype situation. I mean, it's like, yes, you can make photos on glass and everything like that, and that's a specific process. But I still was just like, is this timing making sense? And it does. It does. The girls were around for a while. And I mean, thankfully, they weren't just being like, oh, he's doing daguerreotypes or whatever. It would have made sense because he was ugh, I'm again jumping around a little bit, but so essentially Harlander gets really involved with investing in Victor's process and everything like that. And so Victor was a little open to telling him how he is having a hard time getting the current to the body in order to get the to reanimate the corpse essentially. And so Harlander pulls out this thing that he basically got of the lymphatic system where people were able to like sort of peel away every single layer of the human body and take this part of the lymphatic system and put it on this like wood and like essentially create this sculpture, like this thing. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, one, it was crazy to hear him say all that, and then two, it was crazy to see that. But this, he just helped Victor kind of have a breakthrough of like the lymph. You try to get the current to the lymphatic system because that is the thing that controls the whole body, and it's connected to uh, like it's literally connected to everything. It's like our mycelium system, which is like mycelium is the whole like the fungal system that is below the earth and is how trees talk to each other and communicate and everything like that. Like it's a whole network. It's like the World Wide Web but for trees essentially. Which is kind of interesting. But so basically, Hollander is like, I'll invest in your thing if you let me, be there to document and like see your process and everything and like the progress and everything like that. And of course, in my head, I was just like, he definitely wants something and he's definitely like, and you just need to do me that and like one favor, one random favor. I'll bring it up eventually and Victor's, of course, like, I work alone. Fuck you. Initially. And then he, actually thinks about it and he's like, okay, no, actually, since you have money, yeah, invest in me. But it's also after he meets his brother's fiance, Elizabeth, and is like taken by her and all this stuff. And it's just like, I don't like this. I'm like, this is sleazy. I'm like, that's your younger brother who you haven't seen in years, I'm assuming. And now you want his fiance? Like, fuck you. Like, fuck you, literally. Like, get out of here. And so we do get a montage of Harlander crafting this, well, investing and helping restore this like tower for Victor to use, and Victor coming up with all these sketches and everything like that, and finally getting around to finding bodies and essentially cadavers to use to create this creature, essentially, this person who's not a person. And this was a wild scene to see him at essentially the gallows of people about to get hanged and being like, yeah, that's a good one. Like before, like as they're alive, you know. And Hollander is, losing his patience with Victor because he's like, there's no results right now. There's a war coming up because I think he was an arms dealer or something like that. He made a lot of money. And so he was like, you'll get more specimen from this, which again, this was a wild thing for them to just roll up after this like battle ended. And he's marking off people's bodies and stuff and being like, yeah, that'll work. That'll work. And then we do get a montage. This is like, this movie isn't that like bloody or anything. Like it is at some points, but it's not like that for the whole movie. So this is a distinctly like violent and kind of gruesome scene where we see Victor in a montage, like chopping off like people's legs and like taking people apart and stuff. And I was just like, oh, this is kind of gross. But yeah, so so my whole thing about Mercury, coming back to it. So Harlander is getting impatient. Victor is basically done constructing his creature, his man. Essentially, he's making a man with blonde hair and a tan. I didn't reference Rocky Horror Picture Show at all last episode, even though, like, that it came out the day after Halloween. But still, I love that movie as like a Halloween thing. But ah, so enjoyable. Dr. Frankenfurter. But anyway, so it's finally like a stormy day, and Hollander is like, this is the favor I need from you. I need you to put my mind in the creature that you just created, because you just created a perfect person. And essentially he's dying from syphilis, which is, I'm like, I forgot. Because we've found cures for things, I forget just how awful the things that um the things that still exist essentially, but to a lesser scale because we have cures for them, just how awful they were when there wasn't a cure. Because, with like syphilis, it's like you're losing your hair, you're losing your teeth, I think there's like boils or something. And like, I don't want to gross myself out by looking up symptoms, but anyway, it's bad and then you die essentially. And so the only thing that people were using back in the day to treat it was mercury, which, like I was about to say, was how daguerreotypes were created. And so I was like, okay, for the time, it would have been interesting if they were like, oh, he's making daguerreotypes because it would have been a nod to him both using the mercury to create the images, but also using it to treat himself. But the daguerreotypes take a long time to develop and everything. Like the exposure time is like a few hours, which is why a lot of old school images from back in the day are people like expressionless and stiff, although sometimes those could just be corpses that we're looking at, because people would just photograph or like they would capture images of like their loved ones that passed away. Like that is something that would happen. But a lot of these images are people who were sitting for upwards of 6 hours in like braces and stuff. I mean, daguerreotypes are very beautiful, and because of the mercury, there's this like kind of shimmer to them, but they could only really be made in this like small format. And it is mercury, which is dangerous. Like that will also kill you. Um, which is fucked up with experimentation that was happening to like all those black men. What was that in like the 70s? Now I gotta look this up too. Okay, it was called the Tuskegee Syphilis Study. I didn't realize how long the study went for. It ended in 1972, but it had been going on since 1932. Um, Penicillin as a treatment for syphilis had been a thing since the 1920s, but it was more widespread in 1945, which means from 1945 to 1972, there were black men a part of this study, quote unquote, uh, who weren't aware of penicillin as a thing to treat the sexually transmitted disease that they had, and were essentially just given mercury to see what would happen to them, even though it's like, we know it doesn't work. Literally, there's penicillin. I remember watching a movie about this, and I think in like high school or something, and there was like a whole thing of like how these men were also blacklisted from even gaining the opportunity to have access to penicillin, which was really fucked up. So like initially, essentially these people were killed because of, racism or whatever. Like 100 or so men died, and it was like a study of 400 men over that time span. I'm Yeah, so pretty fucked up. But yeah, so mercury was the thing that people would use to treat syphilis at the time, mercury salt, essentially. And so, yeah, I was like, there's definitely a connection here for that and daguerreotypes and everything like that. But like I said, there was a long exposure time for daguerreotypes, so it wouldn't have, somebody would have called it out. It honestly is like an inaccurate thing for him to be doing, because there's no way for him to just take a photo and then, take an exposure and then it just is there. Like, that's not, no, you would have been sitting there for a longer time if you were trying to do daguerreotypes. And especially at the size that these were, because they look pretty big. But anyway, so obviously Victor is just like, fuck you, because you have syphilis, which affects your whole body. So you are infected, and I can't put you in my non infected creature. Why would I do that? And they kind of get into an argument, and Harlander falls into this like whole tunnel, and he dies. He dies. And it's fucked up too, because Victor doesn't really care about that. He cares about getting the lightning strike to hit his creature and, awaken him, essentially. And does not care. Like, he rushes down to Hollander, but he doesn't really check on him. I mean, he like picks him up a little bit, and like his skull comes out a little bit. I'm like, yeah, this movie is pretty gruesome at times. I'm laughing because I am horrified. And so rather than, even trying to remotely remove his body or anything like that, he's just like, oh, the thing that you said you would take from me and destroy, I actually need that to finish setting up. Haha, I'm gonna go grab that and run back upstairs. So wild. And so he gets all his pieces together. The battery is set up. I was also like, I was getting kind of distracted by the battery situation, because I was like, damn, is that how batteries really used to look? Like, what are batteries? And that's gonna have to be like a whole rabbit hole that I go down later on, because I'm like, yeah, how do they work exactly? Like, that's very interesting to me. No, I will not use ChatGPT, because fuck that. I will literally just be on Wikipedia, because now that's the only thing I can trust. Because you can't Google shit either, because it'll be like, did you want the AI overview? And it's like, no, I didn't. Actually, I never want the AI overview. I would rather go on Reddit and see what some fucking nerd on there has to say about this from like 20 years ago. Or however old Reddit is at this point. Because I'm like, honestly, if you have a question about some old tech or something, literally just search it with Reddit at the end because somebody at some point has asked this and solved that for you. And so we get this moment where it feels like Victor might have failed. Of course, it's like a little fake out. You gotta add some drama. And again, he's still telling this story to like this is all a part of his story to the captain. Nobody else on the ship gets this story, by the way. It's only really the captain and maybe like the doctor that's helping him. Oh, another thing is like his leg is fucked up, but not really. It's because he has a prosthetic leg. Kind of cool prosthetic leg because it's like metal. Like his foot is metal. I don't think the whole thing is metal. I mean, it could be a hollow metal. But anyway, I'm like, let me not get distracted by his foot. I'm like, I don't have a foot fetish. I swear I don't. And that's me getting distracted again by something else. But I'm like, let me not dive into what would have prompted me to say that about someone because of their toes. Anyway, we gotta figure out. It seems like Victor might have failed, but no, he didn't. His creature is alive. He did it. And he's moving and everything like that. And for me, I was just like, why wouldn't you treat this like kind of a child being born for like, and experiencing the world for the first time? Because he tries to teach him and he only teaches him, or he's only able to get him to understand and say the word Victor, which is his name, of course. And I'm like, and this is when we're seeing like the phenomenal like character acting from Jacob Elordi because he's very much able to. Also, I was like, when I watched this, I was like, how the fuck tall is this man? Because yes, I know he's like 6 foot something, but also everybody else is just like being. They seem so small. I was also like thinking about when Victor was like going around getting bodies and like knowing that Jacob Elordi is the final product. I'm just like, oh, so he was looking for like a tall freak. Essentially, I'm like, damn, he just called you a freak of nature because you're tall. But I think yeah, Jacob Elordi is like 6'5", I think, which is tall as shit. And like I feel like in I mean I didn't watch too much of Euphoria, but they probably were using like angles and like apple boxes and just like other stuff to make him not feel as tall. Uh because I know everybody else was probably like pretty short. All my babies are like on my bed being cute. They're like, when are you going to sleep? I don't know, you guys, whenever I'm done with this. But so yeah, it's like we get some really great like body and character acting from Jacob Elordi and his like movement and stuff. And I'm just like, oh wow, he's really selling this like fish out of water. I've just been born sort of like vibe and everything like that. And we kind of get like a face reveal finally and like all this stuff. And it's like I could see the prosthetics and like special effects makeup on him were phenomenal. I feel like I keep saying that word this episode, but like they were really great. And I think another like good thing is that yes, I could see that Jacob Elordi was there below all the prosthetic, but I think they did such a good job with the prosthetic that it's like he felt like his own like thing. It wasn't just like Jacob with like a little bit of makeup on him. Like, no, they did like the scarring and everything really well too, which was nice. And so at a time, Victor is like excited. He's like, wow, it worked. I defeated death or whatever. I was able to bring something to life. He was able to create life. And now let's see if this creature has intelligence. And so this is when we get Victor essentially becoming his dad and being disappointed with his creation because to Victor, the creature wasn't intelligent. He wasn't learning as fast as Victor wanted him to and not behaving in a way that Victor wanted him to. And so he was thinking that his creature was a failure. And so it kind of switches off to William and Elizabeth, who Elizabeth is just like, "Hey, have you gotten anything from my uncle?" Again, they're like talking, they're British, and I'm not good at British accents, so I'm not gonna do that. Elizabeth is just like, "Hey, did you get any word from my uncle?" And William's just like, "No, haven't seen anything." But he got in a letter from like a royal court or something wanting to hear from Victor and like his experiment and everything like that and actually like talk to him. So, I mean, we don't know that that's the letter when we see it, but he later on tells Victor in person that that's what it is. And so they decide to go visit Victor and the uncle at the tower to see, check in, see how they're doing, see what's going on. And they get there and Victor has the creature like tied up. He always keeps him tied up because the creature is, again, he's like a toddler. He wants to touch and see things that are actually very dangerous. So, like, Victor always shaved his hair off for some reason. Don't know why, but he would always shave his hair bald. And so the creature at some point was like, "Oh, what's this shiny thing?" The razor that Victor would use. And he had grabbed it and he had made a fist while grabbing the razor and like cut into his hand. He was bleeding. And this is like Victor's first like seeing of the creature healing really fast. But I mean, again, this is like really dangerous. So he decides to, keep him chained away and so he won't like harm himself. He's thinking this is for his own good, essentially. And I'm like, this is still really harsh because, like, he doesn't know anything, literally. But so, yeah, so William and Elizabeth show up. They're wondering what's going on. Elizabeth hears something from the basement. And while William and Victor go off to some other part of the tower, she goes exploring whatever the hell that sound was in the basement. Victor decides to tell William that yes, he succeeded in his experiment, but the creature is dangerous and attacked Harlander and killed him. And I'm like, okay, so we get the first iteration of him blaming his creature and not himself on violence. I'm like, okay, fuck you again. And like literally we're following the first half is us following an unlikable character. And like, yeah, I empathize with you at first, but you aren't really a great person. You probably needed to go to therapy, honestly. But why would you, as an egotistical man, ever listen to anyone else? Ever. Especially if you thought you were above them. Like, oh my God, God forbid. But yeah, so while they're talking about that, Elizabeth goes down and meets the creature for the first time. And we get this interaction of her being soft and patient with the creature, which is something that the creature had never experienced at all from Victor, at least, because at this point he's only known Victor and now he's met Elizabeth. And he also gets to learn her name. And she doesn't realize, she's like, what's going on in the basement? Who is that down there? Is that a patient? Why is he chained up? What happened? And then, he explains to her, like, oh no, this is my creation. And then both her and William get to meet him at the same time. And William is like stunned because he's like, whoa, because again, Jacob Elordi is 6'5", and these people are short. So yeah, he's like towering over everybody. But again, it's just like he doesn't know anything. And at least from William's perspective, he thinks that the creature is also violent, so he's trying to, protect Elizabeth. And it's like, no, the creature literally hasn't done any harm. He's harmed himself on accident, but no harm whatsoever. Anybody else? And so Elizabeth spends more time, like, after everybody's asleep with the creature. So I'm like, okay, so technically she does spend like 2 moments with the creature. And again, she's soft and like not soft, but like more tender, and there's a level of compassion with her actions with him, because she's like, why is he being like, why is this happening? Even though she understands at this point, like, okay, this is a person that was created and formed from these different parts of these men, but still, like, there's a attraction for her, right? In some level, we don't really fully know, but at this point as well, Victor had already kind of like talked to her and was trying to talk to her about like his attraction to her and stuff. And he's just like, like, why are you here? Because she does visit him at some point, like before he moves everything to the tower. Before the tower's done, she does visit him, and she's like, oh well, the butterfly missed you. And he's like, don't lie to me. Like, you do feel something here too. Like, you wouldn't be here if you didn't. And she's like, you know what? I'm an adult. I'm getting married. I shouldn't be doing this. And so, of course, Victor, being a jealous piece of shit, was like, you don't want me, but you want that down there? Like, seriously? Like, seriously? And basically, makes a rash decision to just burn everything to the ground. But he's nice enough to let Elizabeth and William head back first. But Elizabeth is just like, I think something bad's gonna happen. We need to turn back around. Like, we need to turn back. And then they come back to the tower on fire and everything like that. But right before that, because Victor is pouring all this gasoline everywhere. And before he lights it, he goes to the creature one more time and he's like, let me know you have some level of intelligence. Like, say anything other than my name, Victor. Say anything, anything at all. And he doesn't. He just says Victor. Victor's walking away. And then all of a sudden he says Elizabeth. And this makes him snap. And he's like, okay, you gotta die. And I'm like, this piece of shit. I hate him. Really can't stand him. And it's actually kind of funny because in my narrative class, my narrative filmmaking class, we were kind of going over alliance and allegiance. Or was it? Oh no, sorry. It's alignment and allegiance. Is it alignment? It was alignment and allegiance. So basically alignment is this sort of like, essentially, it's what's happening in this movie. We are following around a character. We don't necessarily like him, but he's the only character we have been given this time and space with to kind of understand him and everything like that. Whereas allegiance is essentially like you are following this character because of your own moral compass and you kind of empathize with this character more. And so that's essentially that's what's happening with this movie. It's like, sure, we are in alignment with Victor, but he's not a great person. We gain an allegiance to the creature because we're seeing how Victor treats him and how the world eventually treats him. And we, at the second part and the second half of the movie, we get the creature's perspective on everything, and we understand what kind of person the creature kind of becomes through all of his like trials and everything. And so we gain an allegiance with the creature because we empathize with him. And yeah. So literally going back to Victor's perspective of part one, we see him essentially get upset that the creature says Elizabeth's name, and it's like, wow, okay, jealous much. And yeah, so he decides to set everything on fire. And then as he's leaving the tower, he, for a split second, he's like, actually, maybe I shouldn't do that, and maybe I should save my creation because actually, I did that shit. Like, I actually conquered death and everything. So he opens up the doors, but then there's a blast of fire that blows him back, and his leg gets twisted off. And this is how he ends up getting a prosthetic leg later on. And at that point, too, William and Elizabeth show up, and yeah, it's like too late. So they just assume that the creature is gone, and everything else is gone. And at this point, we switch back to Victor in the boat. The creature is back. He gets out of the ice, of course, and he gets on the boat and he's like, oh, so you're telling stories, eh? Well, how about me? Let me tell my story, essentially. And then we go into part two. And so the creature washes up on like this, not a beach, but land away from the tower, and he's kind of ventures off into the forest. And there's a level of whimsy here. Like he's just like, wow, like there's creatures and stuff, and it's feeling very like he's a Disney princess essentially, because all the animals, like I think to all the animals, he doesn't smell like a person, so they are more wanting to uh, like interact with him and get close to him and all this stuff. So there's like a really wholesome scene where he is there's a deer eating berries, and then he decides to eat some of the berries, and then he goes to feed the deer the berries, and then it gets fucked up when the deer gets shot in the head in front of him. And I was like, oh wow, that was fucked up. Okay, well, thank you. And so yeah, so then the hunters, we turn to the hunters, and the hunters are like, what the fuck is that? And they start shooting him because they're like, I don't, that, he did, I mean, I guess he's a man. And I'm also, like, at this point, I'm also thinking about, like, how it's just become so common for essentially ugly and scarred people are portrayed as the villain or the monster and stuff, and I'm like, I kind of I'm definitely over that as a trope, but I'm also just really tired of that because in real life there are people who have scars, who are disfigured in different ways, but they're not evil. And I hate that that is kind of like we're kind of sold this propaganda against people that aren't conventionally attractive. Like that's the reality of doing stuff like this over years, you know? It's like, why are we using someone? Why, like, first off, why are we hiring an actor and then putting scars on their face and then having them play the villain or the villain's, like, henchman or something like that? And it's like, okay, so now people are going to associate people who are scarred and disfigured as inherently bad, like that's like that's so weird. I'm like, more than likely someone conventionally attractive is a bad person. Like, because they think they can get away with doing fucked up shit because they are conventionally attractive. Like that is what happens. So the to me when he was getting shot at or anything that happens towards him, I'm just thinking about like how that could be the reality of someone because they look different from a conventionally attractive person. So they're just like, so people around them are just like, ah, you're hideous. And now I have to beat you up. You know, it's like, what the fuck? What did I do to you? I didn't do anything. This is fucked up. So they run off because they're like, fuck, I don't know what that is, but it's not dying. But then he follows them. Actually, no, he doesn't. He is able to get away and he finds a building and he hides in the building. It kind of looks like what would be like a mill of some kind or something. And he's able to just stay there. There's all these really cute mice that show up and are all over him and things like that. And then all of a sudden, in the building right next to it, the hunters show up and they're like, hey, yeah, there was like this weird entity that we tried to shoot at and it didn't die. Don't know what was up with that, but hey, Grandpa, how are you doing? And so it's like the home of their grandpa who, or dad, the home of their dad, who I'm calling her grandpa because I forgot there's like a little girl there and it's grandpa to her, who is, ooh, made a weird sound in my mouth. Who's just there, yeah. So the old, the older man is blind, and so they kind of come to visit him, try to take care of him, but they are trying to also get him to move away from this area because he's a little bit more isolated. Um, but we do get this like really cute, like wholesome uh montage that happens where like the grandpa is teaching the little girl letters and how to read, but at the same time, as he's showing her different letters, he flips it around, and on the other side is blank. So she lies and says the letter is still there when the creature is actually able to see the letter at the same time. So through this experience, he's able to learn how to read. And then when that family, the rest of the family, so the hunters, the mom, the young girl, they leave the dad for a time, and it's just the old blind man who is left alone. The creature comes out and introduces himself, and the blind man is like, "Oh, are you okay? Are you foreign?" Because he's not able to like fully like say words just yet. And he's also like, "Oh, are you the like creature of the forest or whatever?" Because at this point too, he was helping out this family doing different things, and the family would leave him stuff. But they're thinking it's just like a creature of the forest or like some entity or deity or something that's just helping them that lives in the forest, and it's like, no, it's just this guy that's in your in your shed. And that kind of made me think like, wait, was a lot of this stuff just like some guy that was living in your walls back in the day and you just weren't aware, and that's why you would leave out milk and the milk was gone the next day, and it's like, no, it's just because some fucking guy came by and drank all that or something. And like that's like the like not pessimistic but like just I don't know. I like the whimsy of believing that, there's something else out there that could be helping us rather than just being like, no, it's just some dude. Like I'm like that's not fun. I like the whimsy and fun of thinking that there's like something out there like a fairy or fae folk or um gnomes or something. I'm like for some reason I'm thinking very much of like Celtic entities, but I'm also like, yeah, I mean, I know not all of them are good, so there's that, or like a lot of fae folk are also tricksters and stuff. But anyway, so the old man helps him with reading, and we get this another montage. I mean, I'm saying montage, and I'm like, really, the history of montage, because I'm thinking of how I thought of montages before, which was just like that what was it? Team America puppet musical from like early 2000s, and the literal song about montages. Like, I whenever I say montage, I think of that song and that like sequence. But yeah, it's like a montage is literally just like a sequence of imagery to sort of show the passage of time and everything like that. It's not really supposed to be super like overly dramatic. There doesn't really have to have music behind it. It really could just be scenes. I want to say it started as like a Russian film movement back in the day, which is really interesting. Okay, so basically how I explained it, oh, that was weird. How I explained it is like more the American uh thought behind montage to show the passage of time, but the Russian idea of it was definitely a little different. Like, it was definitely more intellectual, and like it gets kind of in the woods a bit, but essentially the Russian school of thought was more about editing. So essentially putting things in sequence is a montage, if I understand that correctly. And so the way Americans use montage was, or how the word is used, is more about showing the passage of time, essentially. But why does, oh, I was like, why did I just start trying to get into film studies? And because we were also going over this in my narrative class. Um, as well. Like, we went over a lot of concepts, actually, now that I think about it. And yeah, so again, because it's like this is a sequence of events, but we are seeing kind of the passage of time, but it's not done in a way to sort of romanticize or like not make fun of, but like make this be like a more fun thing. It's like, no, we're just seeing these things happen in sequence. There is, I guess you could say it's like elliptical editing as well, because that is also something that's also a technique that would be utilized to show the passage of time. So I guess you could say elliptical editing and montage in the Russian sense are connected. Um, but like, okay, let me get away from film theory. I'm like, I'm becoming a nerd. No, I'm joking. But I'm like, gosh, like, to enjoy cinema and then not get into the concepts around cinema. Like, I'm thinking of like the film bros or whatever, and it's like, okay, yeah, love that. You've only watched one kind of movie. Good for you. Um, I don't even know, who am I talking about when I say that. I don't I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying words. But yeah, so it's like we do get these like really wholesome moments with him, and essentially his first true teacher, because Victor was a piece of shit. And so it sucks, but we do get this moment where the creature goes out, and I'm trying to remember. I think it's either he's talking to the old man, and the old man's like, maybe you need to go and search and find out where you came from. Like, maybe it's time for you to go on that journey. And yeah, I think that is what he says to him. and the creature does go out, but then he kind of changes his mind and comes back. But when he comes back, all these wolves had like attacked and everything, and we had seen a scene previously where these wolves were crazy. I'm like, I know wolves be attacking like livestock and stuff, but like I never seen a wolf the way these wolves were behaving. I was like, okay, thankfully these are CGI wolves, but like the way these wolves were behaving, I'm like, that's not in the norm for them to just attack kind of aimlessly. I'm like, I don't think they even really were hungry. They don't usually attack people either. So when the creature comes back and he sees that the old man has been attacked by a wolf and everything, he gets upset, of course, rightfully so, and starts, attacking these wolves and kills a few of them. And I'm like, that was a brutal scene as well. But then at this moment, the two hunters come back and they think that the creature is the thing that attacked their dad. And so they shoot at the creature and the creature goes down, and the creature, as he's telling his side of the story, is just like, and I awoke, not sure how much time had passed, and then I set off to um, find Victor. Or like he went back to, where he came from. And then this is when he discovers, like, oh shit, I was an experiment. Oh, another thing he mentions is like when he tries to remember, or like when he dreams, he's seeing like different points of view and different memories. They're all like jumbled together. He doesn't understand what any of that means. And he's telling this to the old man. And so he makes it to the tower. Everything's like destroyed for the most part, but he's able to find Victor's notes and everything. He's able to find the photos that Harlander took of him as he was being formed. And then this is when he's like, oh, so I was just like created, like I was just put together. That's fucked up, and so he just had to like come to terms with that shit. And so then he found the letter that William had came to give to Victor about the society or whatever, wanting to hear from him. And this is how he finds an address. And then this is when we see the stories sort of merge, and the creature shows up, and it's William and Elizabeth about to get married. Finally, Elizabeth does not look happy at all. And Victor shows up and is just like, I know it's bad luck to see the bride before the wedding. And she's just like, that's for the groom. Like, she's over his shit. But also, it's like, apparently she, you know, felt something towards the creature. And and he, killed the creature, which is so fucked. And so he the creature makes it into there. But right before that, we get like a small moment of Elizabeth looking at a book, and there's a leaf in it, and it's the leaf that the creature gave her when she had initially interacted with him. And so the creature and Victor have sort of a standoff, and Victor's upset, of course, and it's just like, so you've gained some form of intelligence to find me. What do you want? And all this stuff. And I'm like, why are you being so fucking? I hate you. Like, you're awful. Like, Oscar Isaac is doing a phenomenal. Like, he's doing great. Because I hate this. I hate this man. Um, it'd be so funny if Oscar Isaac is not the name of the actor. I've been saying the wrong person's name this whole time. But yeah, either way, basically, the creature shows up and it's just like, I literally can't die. And, like, I felt so many emotions towards finding out what I am and who you are and, um, my existence and everything like that. But, like, I forgive you or whatever, but I need you to do what you did to make me again. Like, I need a companion. And of course, Victor gets all uppity and shit and is just like, why would I do that? Like, I'm not doing this again and all this stuff. And I'm trying to remember. I think Elizabeth shows up because she kind of hears the creature and is just like, oh my god, the creature, you're alive. Oh my god, like I felt something towards you and all this stuff. And William shows up too, and I'm trying to think. Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. So the creature is like essentially holding Elizabeth, like not in an embrace or anything like that. It's more like a his hands are around her like waist, I guess. Like nothing too crazy. Like a little intimate but not crazy. Victor is upset and decides to pull out his gun because this is people's first instinct apparently is to pull out a gun and shoot at the creature. And so Victor shoots at the creature, but Elizabeth's like, no, and actually shields the creature from the bullet, but she ends up getting shot. William shows up and is like, what happened? And then Victor again blames the creature for what he did wrong. And it's like, the creature, he attacked her, da da, and all this stuff. And then all these other men show up and I don't remember if they have weapons or not, but then William kind of gets thrown and he essentially he's dying. He's dying. But he only gets thrown because of fucking Victor escalating the situation and now the creature is upset and all these people are trying to stop him and he's just trying to escape with Elizabeth essentially because he's like, "Oh, you would be perfect for my companion." And like she was actually like really into that as a concept, honestly. Um and so yeah, so William dies. Elizabeth is basically dying because she got shot. And Victor, and literally, it's all Victor's fault. It's literally all Victor's fault. The creature runs off with Elizabeth and takes her to like this cave, I'm assuming he was staying in or something. And Elizabeth confesses to him she how she feels towards him and how she's always kind of felt out of place, but in his eyes, she felt at home. And then she passes away. Victor shows up and he's like, I'm want to kill you or whatever, like, da da da, like some weird animosity towards his creation. And then all of a sudden, no, the creature is like, no, I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna kill you, essentially. And so there's kind of this chase that happens between both of them, and that's how we get the prelude in the beginning. And then we end the movie with like the creature accepting Victor for who he is and Victor passing away and the creature helping the ship out of the ice and the captain rather than deciding to forge on and finish his mission tells everyone that they're going to go home and it ends there. And so for me when I'm saying like Frankenstein is not Nosferatu, even though we do get this like back and forth between Ellen and Count Orlok and stuff, their relationship isn't actually romantic at all. Like that isn't like sure, I feel like all the monster fucker girlies were kind of selling it as romantic, but it's like, I mean, if anything, it's a toxic romance. Like he was someone that was grooming her through like a an astral plane, essentially, since she was very young. And sure, there's this like longing for someone who has like pined and yearned you over years and has come to you to be with you, like traveling through sea and time to be with her. Like, sure, I get that. I'm like, phenomenal. But she didn't want that. sure there was a level of attraction for her, but it's like it's because she's had to deal with these visions and things. Like he was grooming her to be his mate, to be with him. And like Willem Dafoe's character was saying, like in another life, in another time, she could have been a shaman or someone who used the things that were coming to her and like channeled it to something else. And, in the end, she sacrificed her life to save everyone else because she was going to be the only thing. She was the only thing that Count Orlok wanted. And so she was the only thing that could have stopped him completely and made him, be off guard and causing him to end up dying without even like going through like a battle or anything like that. He was just off guard and perished in the sun. So it's like that movie could have been spun in a romantic way, but it's like no, she was trying to live a normal life. She just got married, like she had a husband and he was isolating her and manipulating the people around her, even manipulated her husband to go visit him and trapped her husband in his castle so she could be alone, like, and he was killing all the people around her, um, and all this stuff. So, like, very much toxic, very much not romantic at all. But again, it's like, like it could have been sold. I feel like people were kind of selling it as a romance, and it's like, no, it's definitely not. It's very much the story of someone who is getting abused and groomed, and kind of like I would say it's a story of survival, but she does die in the end because of this. But she more so becomes a martyr and saves so many lives because of what she decides to do in the end. And Count Orlok dies because of her. And it's like because Count Orlok, because Nosferatu, because those are things based on Dracula, and that's Dracula as monster, as creature, not vampire in like the sexy romantic way. It's like we have to remember like this isn't he is a monster. He is evil. He is taking advantage of her. He's trying to take advantage of her. He's isolating her. He's doing all these awful things. And I'm like, oh my god, I've been talking too long and I really need some water. But I think I'm about to end it anyway. But yeah, he's doing all these things and it's like I think because we get so many interactions between them, at least in like this sort of spiritual realm and everything like that, that we're mixing it up, We're not like you could easily just like because she seemed like she was into it, we're thinking, oh, this is fun. This is a normal relationship. And it's like, no, she's being groomed. She is vulnerable and thinks she wants this, but really she doesn't. She ultimately doesn't. I mean, if she wanted that, she wouldn't have gotten married and everything like that. She wouldn't have tried to live a normal life, Like there's things like that. And so for me with Frankenstein, we do get that sort of the creature and the woman in this relationship, and then the brother of her fiance wanting her too, but she doesn't want either of them really. And then the entity that she is attracted to and wants is actually like a creature and is considered a monster. But for me, I wish there was more interactions between the two to really sell that is what was going on. Like, I just wanted more. And I also think because I was also thinking of The Shape of Water and how at the end of that, the woman and the creature end up together. I was thinking that, even though this is Frankenstein, that the creature would end up with the woman in the end and he doesn't get that happy ending. And I'm also like remembering like Frankenstein is not about the creature ending up happily. It is really just about the creature and its maker and the relationship between those two. And so we really, truly were only going to ever focus on Victor and the creature and not really get anything else. I have a head canon where the creature eventually is able to rework and remake the tower and everything and is able to bring Elizabeth back to life. I'm like, I have that head canon because at least she actually wanted him. So it wouldn't even be like he creates someone against their will to be his companion. This would be someone who wanted to be his companion who didn't get the chance to be his companion. So I'm like, oh, that's my head canon. I just want the creature to be happy. I just want the creature to like live and everything. I mean, I definitely I feel like I was like, damn, I was gonna say us, not us. I am not a monster fucker girly, but I'd be reading. I don't be reading too. I'm like, I dibble dabble. I dibble dabble. I haven't gone like on the deep end with like the monster fucking stuff, but I'm just like just a little werewolf thing or whatever about the like nodding or whatever. I don't know. I'm just reading it. Just like okay, let's see, let's see what other like why is this popular? I feel like I haven't talked that much about the smut and manga. Don't really read too much manga that much anymore or webcomic. I read tons of webcomics, but mostly isekais or like villainous ones. But I also read a lot of 18 plus webcomics that can be uncensored. Ooh. But I'm like, oh, I haven't really dived too much into that. Why did I bring that up? Oh, but I was gonna say like us Monster Hunter girlies are winning. We had Nosferatu, now we got Frankenstein. But it's like in this Frankenstein is definitely more of a romantic entity. He is genuinely wanting to be with this woman, and the woman wants to be with him, and like there's not the same like grooming aspects or isolation that was happening to Ellen in Nosferatu. Like that isn't happening. There's not that level of any of that. Like literally Elizabeth is just like I saw you and wanted you, like like nothing crazy, but either way ultimately it was a beautiful movie. I really liked it. It made me really want to reread the original Frankenstein because I was like, damn, I really don't remember a lot of this happening, but I digress. Also, even though the wolves were CGI, I did stay to see if there was like after credits. And there was credits for wolf handlers, and I was like, so at some point there were real wolves, but in the movie there weren't. Unless the Huskies were actually wolves, which would be kind of wild. But otherwise, yeah, that was kind of my review. I don't know why I got so like da 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 about that, but I'm like, yeah, no, Jacob Elordi did such a great, fantastic job as the creature, and like, in my head canon, he's just happy with Elizabeth, and they're like I don't know. Maybe they adopt children. I don't know. I just want him to be happy. Yeah, I'm like, I really was thinking about The Shape of Water. I came into that thinking about The Shape of Water and thinking that the creature would end up happy. And then, and not that the creature isn't happy, there's at least a level of like resolve, there. He's like, my creator was um egotistical and his hubris was that. And now he's gone. Okay, cool. Now I have to continue onward to other things. And I'm like, damn, that really fucking sucks. Ooh, that really sucks. But also, I think there's that whole thing with the captain who was very stubborn, like Victor, and wanting to accomplish and do stuff, to the detriment of like everybody else around him. And then after hearing both sides of the story, he's like, actually, you know what? We're gonna head home. Like, fuck this fucking mission that they're giving us. Like, this fucking crazy ass mission. We're not about to get stuck in ice another time when the creature isn't even going to be around to push us out of here. Also, that was a real ship, real interior, and he built a rig so that when, I guess, Jacob Elordi, as the creature, pushed against the ship, that actually happened. I'm like, that's fucking fantastic. Like, love you, Guillermo del Toro, and loving practical effects always. Like, hell yeah. Like, fuck yeah. Love that shit. I love practical effects. Uh, like, was there anything else specific? The costuming was amazing. Like, really, really gorgeous. Um, what else? It's kind of, yeah, it was just a long movie. And that was another thing too. I'm like, yeah, oh, that's what I was gonna say. Because when I was talking about this movie to somebody else, even before that, I was thinking of like a lot of the women as kind of props because I'm like, we really don't see Elizabeth interact with a woman in general. And the only other like women slash girls are the like the hunters, one of the hunter's wife, and then the daughter. And I'm like, they don't even really talk either. And I'm like, why does it feel like I said like so many times just now? Oh my god. Why does it feel as though Elizabeth is more of a prop in both her fiance William's life, in Victor's life, and all this stuff? And I'm like, come on, do a little bit more with Mia Goth. Like, Mia Goth is so like, oh my god, I did like is so like this generation's like scream queen. Like she's doing oh that kind of freaked me out a little bit. There was like a sound of something falling. But I have upstairs neighbors, so we're gonna assume it was them. Yeah, and I was like, I wanted more from Mia Goth because she she does a lot of great stuff, and I just was like, there's not enough of her on screen. This feels like she wasn't fully utilized here. And like I was saying, I wanted more of her interacting with the creature, even if it was just like something longer than like a few minutes. Like, please? Even like a quick insert of her like looking at the leaf prior to the wedding. But again, the focus, it's like that's not even a critique. That's just something I wish was in the movie and what was kind of uh, upsetting me. But in the end, this movie wasn't about Mia Goth's Elizabeth character. It was about Victor and the creature and not really anything else. And everyone else is essentially was a prop to tell this story, to tell Victor's story. That's why we don't see that much of Elizabeth because he doesn't think that much of her besides like his attraction to her, right? So like if I think of it that way, I'm thinking about it now and it's like of course we don't see that much of Elizabeth because to Victor when he's telling his side of the story, she is nothing but an object that he wants to possess, right? And I'm like, and then when we do get the creature side, even in like the stuff that's happening between the creature and Elizabeth in Victor's telling, it's like, well, of course, the creature, like the moments between the creature and Elizabeth are actually true moments where she's like actually humanized and he's also humanized. So that's what makes those moments stand alone and like be more impactful. I just wish there was more of it. But yeah, I didn't think I had it in me to yap this much about Frankenstein, but I guess I did. I do have a Substack. Follow me on Substack, vnoir.substack.com. Follow me on Instagram, v_noir underscore. I have a TikTok that I don't really post to, v_noir. And go to my podcast archive at www.nwwitapod.com and support me on Patreon because I want to do a film club and like do screenings of kind of obscure movies or just like fun different things. It would be a monthly screening. And that would just be patreon.com/V Noirs Film Club. Noir is spelled with a E. And yeah, I'll see y'all or y'all will hear me next week. Bye.